Hello to whoever clicks on this video, welcome. Now compared to my other videos, this is just me theorizing, or say game theory, literally. If you saw the title, the first half of this video will be me talking about where Devil May Cry 6 could go, and why I think it could be bad. Anyways, let's get started. Firstly, and most likely, a Nero-based game. This makes most sense for a Devil May Cry 6. If you don't know how Devil May Cry 5 ended, and yes, spoilers, Dante and Virgil went into the underworld to destroy the Clyphot tree, sealing themselves in the underworld in the process, leaving Nero, Lady, and Triss in the overworld. I'd like to point out, Dante and Virgil could very easily leave the underworld if they wanted to, but for the sake of story reasons, no. Which sets up the perfect situation for a solo Nero game. And something else I want to point out, so Dante and Virgil had their devil triggers, but also their sin devil triggers. At the end of Devil May Cry 5, Nero unlocks his devil trigger, not his sin devil trigger. This could allow for more story involving Nero's demon side, eventually unlocking his sin devil trigger to stop some big bad devil. Since also at the end of Devil May Cry 5, in the final Nero cutscene, he picks up the phone and it says Devil May Cry, thinking it was someone calling for a job, probably. So it seems also Devil May Cry 6 go the route of Nero taking the role of Dante as the Devil Hunter, with him being gone in the underworld. Now aside of this Nero-focused story, just kind of like with V, with how he was in Devil May Cry 5, there could be a sub-stories in it for other characters. So secondly, the Triss and Lady story. Since Triss and Lady have been side characters throughout the past 5 Devil May Cry games, as a supporting role most of the time, but with the absence of the brothers trapped in the underworld, it would open up the opportunity for more focus on these two within a Nero-focused game. Like in Devil May Cry, there was 3, not including Virgil, different characters to play from. So something along the lines of Nero as the main character with Triss and Lady acting as side characters to play as, like V and Devil May Cry 5. By chance actually finishing off Triss and Lady's stories. Now those two stories are the way I think most likely way Devil May Cry 6 could go. But there are some other ways too. Thirdly, a Dante and Virgil together story. This is the second most likely route I could see Devil May Cry 6 going. With the brothers being trapped in hell and seemingly having nothing better to do than do it out, eventually they would stop what they do as always and actually try to find a way out. By chance awakening a powerful demon that they now have to stop, or from my limited knowledge of the Devil May Cry series, with me only having played 5, I think Mundus is still around in the underworld, so he could try and mind control Virgil again, or maybe even Dante. Finally taking care of Mundus for good, maybe returning back to the surface in the process. And just like with Triss and Lady having a sub-story, I could see a one for the brothers like in the underworld, and that is fourthly, Mundus as the story villain for the game. This could not only just be for the brothers but also Nero. Mundus trying to go after the brothers again or launching an attack on the overworld revolving around Nero, like what originally happened with the brothers after Sparta passed, which leads me to my 5th storyline, all of them in one game. We're saying Nero is the main focus with Lady and Triss on the side like how they were in Devil May Cry 5, while also switching between the brothers in the underworld as they all indirectly help each other to take down Mundus or another big bad devil. I will admit this was like way too much of an idea for a single game, but maybe it would be the case. Now last and sixthly of a story, Sparta. Now I know this is completely out there and would probably be a sub-story. I've been talking about it in the brother story in the underworld, but Sparta as a character really hasn't been explored. Like he's mentioned throughout, I'm pretty sure every Devil May Cry game, but the most really known is that he saved the world, had 2 babies, and died. So maybe by chance during the original attack Mundus did on the brothers' house wasn't to kill them, but instead something to do with Sparta himself and make him a puppet that now the brothers have to take down or take on. I don't know. This one is really far out there. But all I'm trying to say is that Sparta as a character really hasn't been explored and has potential. Well, that was all for the Devil May Cry 6 theorizing on what it could be. I want to talk about why it could be bad. Now, why do I think this? Well, let's look at Devil May Cry games specifically with its release history. We have Devil May Cry 1, 2, 3, 4, Reboot, 5, and Peak of Combat. Now, I've only played 5. Based on what people think overall, and if you like these games, then good for you. But 3 out of 4 of these games are bad. 2 reboots and Peak of Combat. All very different time spans of release. The Devil May Cry series is somewhat common for having bad games, and it wouldn't surprise me it could happen again. And also, if you want to go there too, 1 out of the 2 Devil May Cry animes were also considered bad. Then also, as I said about how I feel the most likely story for Devil May Cry 6 revolving around Nero, Hideki Itsuno, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, the legend who made Devil May Cry 2, 3, 4, and 5. You could call Nero basically his baby as for a game character. With Hideki Itsuno having left Capcom, I don't really think Nero would be done good because he was basically a creation of Hideki Itsuno, since he wouldn't be working on Devil May Cry 6. On that topic too, there is no main director for Devil May Cry 6. Hideki Itsuno basically carried the whole franchise, which I don't know if another director could do that like he did. On that topic of that, even though I would love for Nero-based Devil May Cry 6, he isn't exactly the only star of the show for Devil May Cry. Since of course the main one is Dante and maybe Virgil too. With the brothers being trapped in the underworld, I don't think a standalone Nero game would do good selling wise if Dante wasn't in it, because Dante is kind of the star of the franchise. I'm sure a lot of the general public who played Devil May Cry 5 but didn't stick around would like it even without the brothers being in it, but the new players of the franchise I don't think would, and they are most of the time the biggest buyers. Now also, the problem with a brothers focused game, where do you expand on Peak? Now Virgil can just be put in the same or be put in the special edition, everyone would love it like all the other times, but Dante is switching a lot between games. But if you're looking for the most silly of Dante, how much more silly than a hatch can you go? Or like coolness, you could say, because the motorcycle in the entire Cinderella trigger is already basically that max. So if you're just looking for pure combat, Dante's moves or attacks that you can get already has the most out of any Dante previous in Devil May Cry 5 with 140 plus. I feel like that's the sweet spot for it without it being too complicated for new players. But I feel like anymore would be way too much for a single character. Now all of the stuff I just talked about revolving around the game being bad, I would love for it all to be wrong if there'd be Devil May Cry 6 in the first place, but also to be good if not better than 5. But looking at this realistically, I don't think so. This is still all my personal opinion and what I feel like I see for a Devil May Cry 6. That's all the rambling I have for this video. If you enjoyed it, I would appreciate it if you liked and subscribed. And with that, goodbye.